Remember those delicious 10-minute recipes we all loved? Betty Crocker made quick, comforting meals for busy days. What hidden memories do these fast favorites still hold? Parker House rolls were the kind of soft, buttery rolls that seemed to appear on every family table without fail. These rolls baked quickly in the oven and had a distinct folded shape that gave them a slightly crispy outside and a fluffy, tender inside. Their rich butter flavor and simple ingredients made them a staple that anyone could whip up even on busy weeknights. What made these rolls especially appealing was their versatility. They paired well with soups, stews, or just a pat of butter on their own. People loved them for holidays and everyday meals alike, and they were often part of the tradition in many American households. The recipe was straightforward enough that even beginner cooks could master it, adding to its popularity. With the convenience of a quick baking time, Parker House rolls fit perfectly into the post-war era's need for efficient yet comforting foods. They remain a nostalgic favorite, reminding many of cozy family dinners and the smell of fresh bread wafting through the kitchen. Cheese and ham toasties were the go-to open-faced sandwiches that warmed countless kitchens with their bubbly golden finish. This simple dish combined slices of bread, topped with generous layers of cooked ham and melted cheese, then broiled until the cheese reached that perfect stretch and the edges of the bread crisped slightly. They were beloved for their rich flavor and the satisfying combination of savory ham with creamy, gooey cheese. Beyond their taste, these toasties were quick to make and required very few ingredients, which made them ideal for those hectic days when dinner needed to be on the table fast. Often served as a light meal or snack, they captured the spirit of mid-century home cooking, straightforward, filling, and comforting. This recipe was especially handy when the family wanted something warm without spending too much time in the kitchen. Their simplicity did not sacrifice flavor, making cheese and ham toasties a nostalgic reminder of those quick yet satisfying meals shared around kitchen tables. The Easy Cheese Ball was a party staple that found its way into countless social gatherings thanks to its fast assembly and crowd-pleasing taste. Made by mixing cream cheese with shredded cheddar cheese, along with seasonings that could be adjusted to taste, the mixture was rolled into a compact ball and often coated with chopped nuts or herbs for added texture and flavor. This no-bake recipe required little more than stirring and shaping, making it accessible for even the busiest host. Cheese balls became iconic as appetizer centerpieces during holiday celebrations or casual get-togethers, providing a rich and creamy bite that paired perfectly with crackers or fresh vegetables. The balance of sharp cheddar and smooth cream cheese created a flavor that was both indulgent and nostalgic, reminding many of simpler times spent in lively company. Its speedy preparation and versatile presentation helped cement the cheese ball's place in the canon of vintage party foods, proving that deliciousness and convenience could go hand in hand. Baked apple slices with cinnamon were a quick and warm dessert solution for families craving a little sweetness without fuss. Thinly sliced apples were layered in a baking dish, sprinkled with cinnamon and sugar, and then baked until tender and caramelized, releasing a fragrant aroma that filled kitchens. This dessert captured the essence of autumn and holiday seasons, but was simple enough to be enjoyed any time of the year. The combination of tart and sweet from the apples and cinnamon offered comfort and nostalgia, reminding many of home-cooked treats from their childhood. It required no complicated ingredients or long preparation, which made it a perfect choice for those 10-minute meal plans or last-minute dessert needs. Its wholesome nature meant it was also seen as a slightly healthier option compared to heavier sweets, making it popular among families looking to balance flavor with simplicity. The baked apple slices carried the warmth and joy of family gatherings, wrapped in the cozy scent of cinnamon. Ham salad spread was a quick-to-make mixture that turned leftover cooked ham into a creamy, flavorful filling ideal for crackers or sandwiches. This recipe combined finely chopped ham with mayonnaise and sweet pickle relish, creating a tangy and savory spread that added zest to otherwise plain bread or snack options. It was a favorite in mid-century American homes for its ease and versatility, making use of small amounts of ham that might otherwise be wasted. Perfect for lunches, potlucks, or casual dinners, The spread offered a satisfying protein boost without much effort. The balance of creamy mayo and crunchy relish provided a pleasant texture contrast, keeping the flavor interesting. Ham salad spread was especially prized for its ability to stretch ingredients while still delivering comfort and taste, embodying the resourcefulness typical of the time. Many households passed down their own twists on the recipe, making it a cherished part of family culinary heritage. Microwave potato chips were an ingenious snack that brought the crispy satisfaction of fried potatoes to the kitchen in just minutes. Thin slices of potatoes were arranged on a microwave-safe plate and cooked until they became crisp and golden, offering a homemade alternative to store-bought chips. This recipe was popular because it required minimal oil and preparation time, making it perfect for quick cravings or impromptu gatherings. The ability to customize seasonings, from simple salt to paprika or garlic powder, made it versatile for different tastes. Microwave potato chips became a hit in households seeking convenience without sacrificing the joy of a crunchy snack. Unlike traditional frying, this method was seen as cleaner and quicker, fitting the post-war American lifestyle that increasingly valued speed and practicality. It reminded many of the creativity that home cooks embrace to adapt to new appliances and changing times. Gingerbread Mug Cake brought the warmth and spice of traditional gingerbread into a fast, single-serving treat that anyone could prepare in minutes. This recipe used common pantry spices such as ginger, cinnamon, and cloves combined with basic ingredients to create a moist and flavorful cake cooked directly in a mug using the microwave. Its quick preparation made it ideal for satisfying sudden dessert cravings without the weight or cleanup of a full cake. The mug cake embodied the charm of vintage baking with a modern twist, preserving the nostalgic flavors while adapting to busy lifestyles. It became especially popular during the holidays or cold months when the scent of gingerbread evoked comfort and tradition. This recipe offered a personal-sized indulgence, reminding many that sweetness did not have to come from lengthy or complicated cooking to be truly satisfying. Macaroni Salad was a picnic classic that found its way into countless American cookouts and family gatherings thanks to its simplicity and fresh flavor. This cold pasta salad combined cooked macaroni with mayonnaise, diced celery, onions, and sometimes hard-boiled eggs or pickles, creating a creamy and crunchy dish that was both filling and refreshing. Its ease of preparation and ability to be made ahead made it a favorite in homes and community events alike. Macaroni salad represented the kind of casual, crowd-pleasing side that paired well with barbecues, sandwiches, and fried foods common in mid-century America. Its versatility also allowed families to adjust ingredients based on what was available, making it economical as well as tasty. For many, this dish is deeply tied to warm weather memories and outdoor meals shared with friends and family. Creamed peas on toast were a humble yet comforting meal that brought together tender peas and a creamy white sauce served over warm toast. This simple recipe used frozen or canned peas cooked gently in a sauce made from butter, flour, and milk to create a rich topping that was both satisfying and quick to prepare. Often enjoyed as a light lunch or snack, creamed peas on toast offered a balance of textures and flavors that appealed across generations. It was an easy way to turn pantry staples into a warming dish that felt both familiar and indulgent. The recipe's quick cook time and minimal ingredients matched the mid-century focus on practicality and taste. Many families came to associate this dish with homey comfort and the ingenuity of making the most of what was on hand. Baked cinnamon sugar donuts were a simple and fast sweet treat that became a beloved snack for families looking to enjoy dessert without a long wait. Made from a quick batter that was baked instead of fried, these donuts were then tossed in a mixture of cinnamon and sugar, creating a delightful crunchy coating and soft interior. Their appeal came from combining familiar flavors with a method that suited busy schedules, offering a dessert that could be ready in under 10 minutes. These donuts captured the essence of home baking in the 1950s and 1960s, when convenience and comfort needed to coexist. The warm spice of cinnamon gave the donuts a nostalgic edge, reminding many of holidays and special occasions. Baked cinnamon sugar donuts were an accessible way to enjoy a treat that felt homemade and satisfying, without the fuss of traditional frying. Mayo and pickle sandwich spread was a creamy and tangy concoction that quickly became a household favorite for turning simple sandwiches into flavorful snacks. This easy-to-make spread combined smooth mayonnaise with finely chopped pickles, lending a perfect balance of richness and zesty crunch. It required very few ingredients but packed enough flavor to elevate plain bread and cold cuts into a satisfying meal. This recipe was especially popular because it was quick to prepare and used pantry staples, making it accessible to families during busy days or tighter budgets. The spread's tanginess cut through the richness of other sandwich components, providing a refreshing bite every time. For many, it was a nostalgic reminder of lunches packed for school or quick weekday dinners, evoking images of kitchen tables where comfort food did not have to be complicated. The mayo and pickle combination was a classic example of mid-century culinary ingenuity, using simple ingredients to create something greater than the sum of its parts. It was a spread that could be whipped up in moments but savored slowly, bringing together generations around the sandwich plate. Tomato and cheese melt was a simple yet elegant open-faced sandwich that brought fresh and savory flavors to the table in a flash. This recipe called for slices of ripe tomato layered on bread, topped with cheese such as cheddar or American, lightly seasoned, then broiled until the cheese melted into a bubbly golden crown. The juicy acidity of the tomato paired perfectly with the creamy, savory cheese, offering a contrast that delighted many palates. It was an easy dish to prepare for a quick lunch or light dinner, requiring only a handful of ingredients that were often on hand. The broiling step added just the right amount of crispness to the bread, making each bite texturally satisfying. Tomato and cheese melt showcased the mid-century preference for simple, fast meals that did not sacrifice flavor or comfort. It was a dish that could be assembled in minutes yet felt substantial and wholesome. Many families treasured it as a nostalgic reminder of no-fuss cooking that brought warmth and satisfaction with minimal effort. Corn fritters were quick little pancakes made by mixing canned corn into a simple batter and frying spoonfuls until golden and crisp. These fritters were beloved for their crunchy exterior and sweet bursts of corn inside, offering a delightful contrast in every bite. Their quick preparation time made them perfect for busy households looking to stretch pantry staples into tasty snacks or side dishes. Corn fritters carried a homespun charm, often served alongside main meals or enjoyed as finger food during casual gatherings. Their sweet and savory flavor made them versatile, appealing to children and adults alike. The use of canned corn reflected the mid-century trend of incorporating convenient canned goods into everyday cooking without sacrificing taste. These fritters were a testament to the resourcefulness of cooks who sought to make quick, satisfying dishes from simple ingredients. They also echoed the broader culinary tradition of turning humble crops into beloved comfort foods. Sausage and cheese skewers were a party favorite that combined cubed cooked sausage with chunks of cheese threaded onto toothpicks for easy serving and snacking. This no-cook appetizer was perfect for last-minute entertaining or casual get-togethers, offering a balance of smoky sausage flavor and creamy cheese in every bite. Its simplicity made it accessible to cooks of all skill levels and allowed for variations depending on available meats and cheeses. These skewers reflected the mid-century American preference for finger foods that could be eaten without utensils, fostering a social, laid-back atmosphere at gatherings. The savory pairing was often a hit at holiday parties, potlucks, or weekend picnics. Sausage and cheese skewers demonstrated how minimal ingredients and minimal prep could yield a satisfying and visually appealing dish. They brought together flavor, convenience, and nostalgia in a way that made them a perennial favorite on appetizer trays across the country. Jelled fruit salad was a colorful and refreshing side dish that suspended chunks of canned or fresh fruit in flavored gelatin, often bright and eye-catching in the center of the table. This salad was more than just a dessert. It was a versatile dish that could balance heavier main courses with its light texture and sweet tart taste. Popular in the mid-20th century, it symbolized the era's love of molded gelatin dishes that added a touch of whimsy and elegance to family meals and potlucks. Preparing jelled fruit salad was straightforward and fast, typically involving dissolving gelatin, mixing in fruit, and chilling until set. The dish often included fruits like pineapple, cherries, and grapes, creating a festive look that delighted children and adults alike. It fit perfectly into the quick, efficient meal planning of the time while still bringing a sense of celebration and indulgence. For many, it remains a nostalgic reminder of shared meals and creative home cooking from past decades. Curried chicken salad was a flavorful twist on the traditional chicken salad, mixing cooked, shredded chicken with mayonnaise and a dash of curry powder for warmth and spice. This cold salad was perfect for sandwiches or served on crackers as an appetizer, providing a quick and satisfying meal option with an exotic flair. Its preparation required little time, but offered a complex taste profile that contrasted with simpler mayo-based salads of the era. The addition of curry powder reflected a mid-century curiosity with international flavors that began permeating American kitchens, albeit in mild and accessible forms. Curried chicken salad balanced creamy, savory, and subtly spicy notes, making it a popular choice for those seeking something different yet easy. It was ideal for packed lunches, picnics, or quick dinners when time was short but taste mattered. This recipe showcased the creativity home cooks embraced by blending familiar ingredients with new seasonings to keep meals interesting and delicious. Buttered noodles with Parmesan was a simple, comforting side dish that combined cooked egg noodles tossed with melted butter and grated Parmesan cheese for a rich, creamy flavor. It was a go-to recipe for families needing a quick addition to dinners that could be prepared in under 10 minutes. The buttery coating gave the noodles a silky texture, while the cheese added a salty, nutty depth, elevating what might otherwise be plain pasta. This dish was often served alongside meat or vegetable mains and was cherished for its satisfying simplicity. The recipe fit perfectly into the mid-century ethos of quick, budget-friendly meals that delivered warmth and fullness without fuss. It was especially popular in households with children due to its mild flavor and familiar ingredients. Buttered noodles with Parmesan remain a nostalgic comfort food for many, reminding them of easy, loving meals shared around the dinner table. Bacon and egg cups were a clever and speedy breakfast option, made by lining muffin tins with strips of bacon, cracking eggs into each cup, and baking until set. This recipe combined crispy bacon with gently cooked eggs, making for a delicious and visually appealing dish that could be served right from the pan. It was popular because it allowed for quick prep and easy portioning, perfect for feeding a family on busy mornings. The combination of savory bacon and protein-rich eggs provided a filling start to the day without requiring much hands-on cooking time. Bacon and egg cups exemplified mid-century ingenuity in the kitchen, turning simple ingredients into something special with minimal effort. They were also great for meal planning, as leftovers could be stored and reheated. This breakfast dish remains a nostalgic favorite for those who appreciate easy, tasty, and efficient cooking. Pineapple cream cheese spread was a sweet and savory mixture, blending smooth cream cheese with crushed pineapple to create a flavorful spread perfect for crackers or bread. This recipe was popular in mid-century America as a quick appetizer or snack that combined tropical sweetness with creamy richness. It required minimal preparation but delivered a bright, refreshing taste that was both indulgent and satisfying. The spread's balance of tangy pineapple and mild cream cheese made it a versatile choice for parties or casual family gatherings. Pineapple cream cheese spread fit well within the era's fondness for easy-to-make dishes that could be served cold and kept on hand. It was especially favored for its ability to bring a hint of exotic flavor to everyday entertaining. For many, it recalls memories of festive occasions and the joy of simple, delicious food shared with loved ones. Baked zucchini chips were a healthier and speedy alternative to fried snacks, made by slicing zucchini thin, lightly breading them, and baking until crisp. This recipe took advantage of abundant summer produce, turning it into a satisfying snack that was easy to prepare and gentle on the wallet. The light breading added crunch without overwhelming the delicate flavor of the zucchini, making these chips appealing to both children and adults. Baked zucchini chips reflected the mid-century emphasis on practical cooking methods that stretched ingredients and reduced waste. They could be served as a side dish or party snack, fitting well into the quick meal planning popular at the time. This recipe demonstrated how simple steps could transform fresh vegetables into something special, providing a nostalgic reminder of homegrown goodness and easy, wholesome cooking. Cheese-stuffed celery sticks were a quick and elegant appetizer that brought fresh crunch and creamy richness together in a perfect bite. Crisp celery stalks were hollowed out slightly and filled with soft cream cheese or shredded cheddar spread, often seasoned with herbs or a hint of garlic. This recipe was popular for its simplicity and speed, requiring no cooking and very few ingredients. It was a staple at parties, potlucks, and family gatherings where finger foods were favored for their ease and social appeal. The combination of cool, crunchy celery with the smooth, flavorful cheese created a refreshing contrast that was both satisfying and light. Cheese-stuffed celery sticks reflected mid-century American cooking's love for practical, no-fuss recipes that still managed to impress guests. They were also a convenient way to include vegetables in a snack without losing flavor or appeal. Many remember this appetizer as a classic, nostalgic part of celebrations where simple ingredients transformed into delightful treats. Easy Peach Cobbler was a warm and comforting dessert that could be quickly assembled with canned peaches and a biscuit-like topping before being baked to golden perfection. This recipe was beloved for its speed and simplicity, providing a sweet finish to meals without long preparation times or complicated steps. The juicy peaches offered a natural sweetness and tender texture, while the biscuit topping added a soft, buttery contrast that soaked up the fruit's juices. Easy Peach Cobbler fit perfectly into mid-century home kitchens where convenience was prized alongside flavor. It was often served with a scoop of vanilla ice cream or a dollop of whipped cream to elevate the experience. This dish evoked feelings of home and hearth, reminding many of family dinners and holidays filled with warmth and love. Its reliance on pantry staples and canned fruit also made it economical and accessible, adding to its popularity during the busy post-war era. Easy Peach Cobbler remains a nostalgic favorite for its blend of comfort, sweetness, and effortless preparation. Cabbage and Bacon Slaw was a tangy and crunchy salad that combined shredded cabbage with crispy bacon bits and a bright, vinegar-based dressing. This recipe brought together textures and flavors that balanced each other perfectly. The fresh crunch of cabbage, the smoky saltiness of bacon, and the sharpness of the dressing. It was a popular side dish for barbecues, picnics, and everyday dinners, especially in households looking to add a little zest to their meals without spending much time or money. The inclusion of bacon made this slaw more indulgent than traditional versions, offering a smoky depth that many found irresistible. Its quick assembly and use of basic ingredients reflected the mid-century American kitchen's focus on practical, flavorful dishes that could be prepared in minutes. Cabbage and Bacon Slaw was both a nod to resourceful cooking and a crowd pleaser that complemented a variety of main courses. For many families, it was a trusted recipe that brought a little extra brightness and satisfaction to the table. Tomato and onion sandwiches were a simple, straightforward lunch option that layered ripe tomato slices with raw onion rings and a spread of mayonnaise on soft bread. This humble sandwich was popular for its fresh, juicy flavors combined with a touch of sharpness from the onions and creaminess from the mayo. It was easy to make in a matter of minutes, making it ideal for quick lunches or snacks during busy days. The recipe relied on quality ingredients, highlighting the natural taste of fresh tomatoes and crisp onions, which were staples in many American households. Tomato and onion sandwiches offered a light, refreshing alternative to heavier lunch options, embodying mid-century simplicity and practicality. Many people enjoyed it in warmer months when tomatoes were at their peak, associating it with casual outdoor meals or quick bites on the go. The sandwich's enduring appeal lies in its straightforwardness and the nostalgic reminder of kitchen tables filled with uncomplicated, honest food. Deviled ham spread was a spicy and creamy sandwich filling made by blending processed ham with mustard and mayonnaise to create a flavorful, spreadable paste. This recipe was prized for its ability to turn small amounts of leftover ham into a zesty and satisfying snack or lunch option. It required minimal preparation, making it a convenient choice for families seeking quick meals or appetizers. The mustard added a tangy kick that balanced the richness of the ham and mayo, while the smooth texture made it easy to spread on bread or crackers. Deviled ham spread was a popular feature in mid-century American cookbooks and lunchboxes, embodying the era's focus on practical, tasty, and budget-friendly foods. It often appeared in picnic baskets, school lunches, and casual dinners, providing a burst of flavor that lifted simple sandwiches. The spread's spicy edge and creamy body made it a nostalgic favorite that brought a little excitement to everyday meals. Scallion pancakes were quick pan-fried cakes made from a simple batter mixed with chopped scallions, delivering a savory and fragrant snack or side dish. These pancakes were beloved for their crispy edges, tender interior, and the bright, oniony flavor from the scallions. Their preparation was straightforward and fast, requiring only minutes to cook in a hot skillet, making them perfect for busy families or impromptu meals. Scallion pancakes reflected the mid-century interest in adding fresh herbs and vegetables to simple recipes to enhance flavor and nutrition. They could be served as an appetizer, breakfast item, or side dish alongside main courses, showcasing their versatility. The pancakes' comforting texture and mild yet distinct taste made them a cherished part of many home kitchens. For many, scallion pancakes recalled memories of quick dinners and the joy of making simple ingredients shine. Cheese and olive dip was a creamy and savory spread that blended shredded cheese with chopped olives to create a flavorful, quick appetizer. This dip was ideal for entertaining or casual snacking, offering a rich taste with a salty, briny punch from the olives. Its no-cook preparation meant it could be whipped up in minutes, perfect for last-minute guests or easy weekend treats. Cheese and olive dip fit the mid-century American penchant for combining familiar flavors into new, exciting dishes that required little effort. Served with crackers, bread, or raw vegetables, it became a popular addition to party trays and family tables alike. The combination of sharp cheese and tangy olives created a balance that was both indulgent and satisfying. This recipe remains a nostalgic favorite, evoking the convivial atmosphere of mid-century social gatherings and simple, delicious home cooking. Honey and mustard glazed carrots were baby carrots cooked quickly with a sweet and tangy glaze that combined honey and mustard for a flavorful side dish. This recipe took advantage of the natural sweetness of carrots and enhanced it with the sharp bite of mustard and smoothness of honey, creating a balanced, appetizing dish. The glaze was simple to make and could be prepared in under 10 minutes, making it ideal for busy cooks needing a tasty vegetable side fast. Honey and mustard glazed carrots were especially popular during the mid-20th century as a way to dress up basic produce and add interest to meals. Their bright flavor and glossy finish made them appealing to children and adults alike, encouraging vegetable consumption. This dish reflected the era's trend of transforming everyday ingredients into something special with minimal fuss, fitting perfectly into quick and delicious meal planning. Frozen fruit yogurt bites were a refreshing and easy treat popular for their cool, sweet flavor and creamy texture, made by mixing yogurt with fresh or canned fruit and freezing the mixture in small molds or trays. These bite-sized snacks combined the smoothness of yogurt with the natural sweetness and vibrant taste of fruit, offering a wholesome option for families looking for quick desserts or snacks, especially during warmer months. Their quick assembly made them practical for busy households, requiring minimal preparation and storage space, which fit perfectly into mid-century lifestyles that valued efficiency alongside flavor and nutrition. These treats were also a fun and appealing way to encourage children to eat fruit without added sugars or complicated recipes, turning healthy eating into a delightful experience. Reflecting a mid-century interest in convenient yet wholesome foods, frozen fruit yogurt bites became a nostalgic favorite that reminded many of playful summer days and simple homemade delights enjoyed at family gatherings or as a light afternoon snack. They offered a cool, sweet escape and a reminder that delicious treats did not always require long hours in the kitchen. This easy-to-make dessert holds a special place in vintage American cooking traditions, celebrated for its blend of taste, healthfulness, and simplicity. Egg and cheese breakfast muffins were a fast, convenient, and nutritious morning meal made by baking scrambled eggs and cheese in muffin tins to create individual portable portions. This recipe combined the richness and creaminess of melted cheese with fluffy, protein-packed eggs, offering a satisfying start to the day that could be prepared ahead of time or cooked quickly in the morning rush. Perfect for busy families and individuals, these muffins required little hands-on cooking but delivered on flavor and nutrition, making them ideal for hectic weekdays or early mornings when time was limited. Their versatility allowed for easy customization by adding herbs, vegetables, or cooked meats, catering to different tastes and dietary preferences. Popular in mid-century American kitchens, egg and cheese breakfast muffins embodied the era's focus on practical and efficient meals that did not sacrifice flavor or nourishment. Easy to store, reheat, and serve, they fit well into the evolving fast-paced lifestyle, providing a grab-and-go breakfast that satisfied both children and adults. For many, these muffins remain a nostalgic reminder of simple, tasty, and ready-to-eat breakfasts that helped fuel busy mornings with minimal fuss. Their enduring appeal lies in their balance of convenience, comfort, and classic home cooking. Scrambled eggs with evaporated milk were one of those frugal breakfasts tucked inside old homemaker guides and church fundraisers from the 1940s through the 70s. The secret was canned milk. You would crack your eggs, whisk in a splash of evaporated milk, and fry them up fast. The milk made them fluffy, rich, and stretch further than plain eggs alone. This mattered more than people today might think. During wartime and lean grocery weeks, a can of evaporated milk was gold. It lasted longer than fresh milk, cost less, and made ordinary eggs feel like a treat. Some families tossed in herbs or cheese if they had extra, but most kept it plain. Soft eggs with just a little salt and pepper. Quick, simple, and done in under 10 minutes. You will not find this recipe on Instagram or in trendy brunch spots, but it kept families fed and mornings moving. People used what they had, made it work, and turned humble ingredients into something satisfying. Spam and egg scramble was one of those 10-minute dinners that showed up again and again when times got lean. You diced up a can of Spam, fried it in a hot skillet until the edges curled and crisped, then scrambled in a few eggs with onions if they were around. It all came together fast, filled your plate, and made sure nobody went to bed hungry. Spam was a pantry staple for a reason. Cheap, shelf-stable, and surprisingly versatile. The old cookbooks were full of ways to stretch it into something that felt like a real meal. Toss in eggs, and suddenly, dinner looked good enough to serve without apology. It was salty, hearty, and loaded with that familiar taste of making do with what you had. Families leaned on quick meals like this because they worked. 10 minutes on the stove, a hot plate in front of everyone, and dinner was done. No one claimed it was fancy, but when your pantry was empty and the paycheck still days away, it tasted like a small victory. Funny how those simple, practical meals stuck with us. They filled the gaps and filled us up. Cottage cheese and peach. Half plate was the kind of quick meal that felt just fancy enough to pass for lunch, even when the fridge was nearly empty. You opened a can of peach halves, plopped them on a plate, and added a big scoop of cottage cheese right in the center. That was it. 10 minutes, maybe less. It sounds odd now, but back then, this sweet and savory combo showed up at church teas, ladies' luncheons, and weekday meals when time and money were both running low. It was light, refreshing, and filled just enough of that hunger gap to get you through the afternoon. You could dress it up with a little sprinkle of nutmeg or a cherry on top if you were feeling fancy, but most kept it simple. It came from a time when canned fruit was a pantry staple. Cottage cheese counted as protein, and families got creative to stretch every dollar. Another forgotten classic from the old cookbook that kept homes running smoothly. Cold macaroni ring mold with tuna was the kind of no-cook lunch you either loved or never wanted to see again, but back in the day, it was everywhere. You cooked elbow macaroni ahead of time, chilled it, then mixed in canned tuna, mayo, and peas, pouring the whole thing into a gelatin mold. After a quick trip to the fridge, it came out shaped like a perfect ring, ready for slicing. It sounds a little strange, but in church luncheons, potlucks, and quick summer meals, this was considered fancy and practical. Moms loved it because there was no cooking when the house was already boiling hot, and the ingredients were cheap pantry staples. The gelatin molds made it look like more effort went into lunch than actually did. You sliced off a wedge, maybe threw a little lettuce or parsley on the plate, and that was it. Lunch was ready, cold, filling, and good enough to impress the neighbors. It might not win over modern taste buds, but back then, this molded tuna salad was the fast-track ticket to a retro lunch that felt special when time was short. Raisin Bran with warm milk and butter was the winter breakfast trick every frugal family knew when mornings were freezing, but there was still work to be done. You would pour bran flakes into a bowl, warm some milk on the stove, add a small scoop of butter, and pour it all over the cereal. Breakfast done in 10 minutes flat, warm, creamy, and filling enough to carry you through the morning. Families leaned on meals like this when groceries ran tight, but everyone still needed something hot and practical to start the day. It was sweet from the raisins, buttery from the milk, and surprisingly comforting for something so simple. You could find versions of this breakfast in old community cookbooks, homemaker guides, and those faded recipe cards tucked in kitchen drawers. Some folks sprinkled sugar, others added cinnamon, but it always came back to the same quiet goal. Stretch a little food as far as you could and start the day with something warm. Funny how those simple breakfasts disappear when new trends roll in. Salmon and canned pea toasts were how you made pantry food look halfway fancy when the clock and your energy ran out. You took canned salmon, mashed it with mayonnaise, stirred in some peas, and spread it thick over hot toast. That was dinner. It sounds simple now, but when fresh meat was scarce or paychecks were tight, this was the kind of meal that kept families going. The old cookbooks were filled with little tricks like this, ways to stretch canned goods into something that almost felt special. Salmon from a can never fooled anyone, but the crunch of toast and the soft peas made it oddly satisfying. You might even see a sprinkle of pepper or a squeeze of lemon if someone was feeling bold. It came together fast, filled you up, and for those 10 minutes in the kitchen, it made you feel like you still had control over dinner. Sometimes that is all anyone needed. Egg salad on toast was one of those practical 10-minute meals that filled lunch boxes, fed tired workers, and showed up in every community cookbook for good reason. Leftover boiled eggs were never wasted. You chopped them up, mixed them with mayonnaise, maybe a little mustard if you were lucky, and piled it all onto a slice of toast. It sounds plain, but it got the job done. The eggs were filling, the toast made it portable, and you could whip it up in no time flat. This was not about fancy ingredients or gourmet flavors. It was the kind of recipe people leaned on when money was tight, time was short, and families still had to eat. You would see it at church luncheons, quick weekday dinners, or scribbled down on worn recipe cards tucked into kitchen drawers. It might be forgotten now, but egg salad on toast kept plenty of households going when they needed it most. Hot dog and cheese roll-ups were the lazy day lunch every kid begged for, and every parent threw together when the cupboards looked bare. You flattened a slice of white bread, laid down a piece of cheese, rolled in a hot dog, and either microwaved it or crisped it up in a pan. It was fast, cheesy, and exactly what you needed when there were hungry mouths and barely any groceries. Some folks sliced them into little bites for parties or potlucks, but most families just ate them whole with a squirt of mustard or ketchup on the side. These roll-ups showed up in almost every old-school cookbook under quick meals or lunches for kids because they made one pack of hot dogs stretch a long way. You could make a whole tray of them in minutes, which is why this quirky little lunch became a go-to when time and money were both running low. It was not fancy, but it filled you up, and that is what counted. Canned peach halves with cottage cheese was the quiet, no-cook breakfast that kept dieters, seniors, and busy families fed when time and groceries were both running low. You would grab a can of peach halves, spoon some cottage cheese in the center, and breakfast was done in under 10 minutes. Sweet, creamy, and filling enough to count, it showed up in weight loss guides, homemaker magazines, and community cookbooks promising simple, affordable meals. Parents loved it because it was fast and required no stove, and older folks leaned on it when cooking felt like too much work. It might sound odd now, but back then, canned fruit and cottage cheese were pantry staples that stretched far and kept mornings moving. Some versions added a drizzle of honey or chopped nuts, but most kept it plain, quick, and practical. It is one of those breakfasts that slipped away as frozen meals and grab-and-go options took over, but back then, it was quietly keeping families fed with nothing but a can opener and a spoon. Minute rice with canned chili and cheese was the dinner of champions. If your definition of champion was someone who worked 12 hours and still had to put food on the table. That old minute rice box was a lifeline back then, cooking up fluffy in just a few minutes. You dumped canned chili right over the top, shredded some cheddar if you had it, and dinner was done. Nobody expected it to be gourmet, but it filled you up, stuck to your ribs, and made sure you were ready for the next shift, the next chore, the next whatever life threw at you. The cookbooks from those days leaned hard on pantry meals like this because they worked. They were honest, quick dinners that kept you standing, even when life tried to knock you down. And hey, melted cheese makes everything better. Fried bologna and mustard sandwich was a 10-minute fix that never pretended to be fancy, but always hit the spot. You tossed a slice of bologna into a hot pan, let it sizzle until the edges curled, slapped it onto soft bread, and added mustard. That was it. Simple, quick, and surprisingly satisfying. Back in Grandma's day, this showed up when money was tight, groceries were low, or you just needed something fast before heading back to work or school. It was salty, smoky, and the bologna crisped up just enough to feel like real cooking. Kids loved it, adults leaned on it, and every household had their own little spin on the recipe. Some added cheese, some toasted the bread, but most kept it plain and practical. You would not find this in glossy magazines, but you would find it tucked in those old handwritten cookbooks, passed down from one generation to the next. Another quick forgotten gem from a time when meals had to be fast, filling, and affordable. Pimento cheese sandwiches on white bread were the Southern lunchbox staple that quietly made their way into kitchens across the country. You made up a big batch of pimento cheese, usually shredded cheddar, mayo, and little diced pimento peppers, then slapped it between slices of soft sandwich bread. That was lunch, fast and done. If you were lucky, the batch had been chilling in the fridge overnight so the flavors had time to settle. It showed up everywhere, from school cafeterias to Sunday church gatherings, and you did not need fancy ingredients to pull it together. The filling looked bright orange and odd to anyone who had never tried it, but it was creamy, sharp, and surprisingly satisfying. Some folks added extras like sliced pickles or lettuce, but the plain version stuck around because it was quick, cheap, and kept everyone fed when time was tight. Old cookbooks had pages of pimento cheese variations, but the classic stayed the same. Easy, portable, and just filling enough to get you through the day. Oatmeal with brown sugar and cream was about as classic as breakfast could get. Quick oats simmered on the stove, topped with a spoonful of brown sugar and a splash of canned milk. It was ready in 10 minutes flat, cheap to make, and warm enough to shake off the worst winter mornings. Families across America leaned on this breakfast when budgets were tight, but everyone still needed something filling to start the day. Quick oats cooked faster than traditional oats, brown sugar gave just enough sweetness, and canned milk made the whole thing creamy even if fresh milk was hard to come by. It showed up in school lunch guides, frugal homemaker magazines, and those old cookbooks buried at the back of every kitchen drawer. For a lot of folks, this was not a special occasion breakfast. It was the daily routine, quiet, dependable, and gone in under 10 minutes. Funny how something so ordinary could disappear so completely, replaced by instant packets and flashy coffee shop menus. Quick tomato egg drop soup was a fast, practical dinner that showed up in old cookbooks for families juggling tight grocery budgets and tighter schedules. You started with hot broth, usually whatever bouillon cube or soup base you had in the cupboard. Then you poured in canned tomatoes and stirred everything together until it simmered. The final touch was whisked eggs, slowly dripped in as you stirred, turning into silky ribbons in the hot broth. It looked a little fancier than it was, But this meal was all about speed and making the best of what you had. The tomatoes added sweetness, the broth made it filling, and the eggs gave enough protein to keep everyone going. It came together in less than 10 minutes and cost next to nothing, which is exactly why old cookbooks loved it. It was warm, fast, and comforting without much effort. Families leaned on meals like this because they filled bellies and stretched paychecks at the same time. Funny how those quick little soup tricks turned into classics that still stick with people. Mayo and lettuce sandwiches were one of those simple, no-nonsense Depression-era meals that somehow filled you up when there was not much else to work with. You slapped some mayonnaise on soft sandwich bread, added a few crisp iceberg lettuce leaves, and called it lunch. That was it. It might sound plain today, but back when grocery shelves were bare and paychecks were stretched thin, this quick little meal showed up on a lot of kitchen tables. Families made do with what they had, and mayonnaise gave the sandwich some fat and flavor while lettuce added crunch and made it feel fresh. It was cheap, fast, and surprisingly satisfying when times were tough. You would see it scribbled onto old recipe cards or passed down through word of mouth as a quick lunch fix that cost next to nothing. These sandwiches are mostly forgotten now, but back then, they were a lifesaver that came together in under 10 minutes. Quick skillet tamale pie was the shortcut lunch that showed up in nearly every old cookbook under hearty fast meals. You browned some ground beef, poured in canned chili, sprinkled crushed corn chips over the top, and finished it off with shredded cheese. It was fast, filling, and about as close to homemade comfort food as you could get when groceries were scarce and the clock was ticking. Moms loved it because the ingredients were cheap, and kids devoured it because it was spicy, cheesy, and crunchy all at once. Some folks tossed on sour cream or salsa to dress it up, but most families stuck with the basics when money was tight. It was not authentic tamale pie, but nobody cared. It hit the spot, fed the family, and came together in under 10 minutes. You could find this recipe scribbled in old notepads, passed down from neighbors, or tucked into faded cookbooks that promised fast, filling lunches for busy days. Leftover biscuit with syrup or gravy drizzle was one of those Depression-era breakfasts that made sure nothing ever went to waste. You would take yesterday's biscuit, stale or not, reheat it, and pour canned gravy or a drizzle of syrup over the top. Suddenly, leftovers became breakfast in under 10 minutes. Families leaned on meals like this when the cupboards were bare and payday felt a long way off. It was not fancy, but it filled your belly and kept mornings moving. Syrup sweetened things up, gravy made it savory, and both stretched the little bit of food you had into something satisfying. Farmhouses, boarding houses, even factory kitchens knew this trick by heart. You could find it tucked away in old homemaker guides and church recipe swaps, quietly keeping people fed when groceries were scarce. Some meals disappeared quietly, but back then, this one carried families through lean times with nothing but yesterday's bread and a little creativity. Corned beef hash from the can was one of those pantry miracles that turned a tin of meat and potatoes into a hot, filling dinner without much fuss. You sliced open the can, dumped the hash into a hot skillet, and let it crisp up around the edges until it was golden and ready to eat. You could fry an egg on top if you had one, but even plain, it did the job. This meal came straight from those old cookbooks that knew exactly how to stretch groceries and fill a plate fast. Corned beef hash was salty, hearty, and packed enough flavor to make up for how simple it was. It fed families during tight times, filled lunch boxes, and showed up on the table when there was not much else to work with. It might not have been fancy, but it was practical. And back then, practical meals were king. These dinners got everyone fed in under 10 minutes, with nothing wasted and no one left hungry. Funny how even canned food like this turned into something that stuck around in people's memories. Quick macaroni and stewed tomatoes was one of those meals that showed up when there was not much left in the pantry, but families still needed dinner on the table fast. You boiled some elbow macaroni, opened a can of stewed tomatoes, and stirred it all together with salt, pepper, and a little butter if you could spare it. That was it. It sounds humble, but back when budgets were tight and grocery trips were rare, this simple stovetop meal came through. The pasta filled you up, the tomatoes added flavor, and it all came together in under 10 minutes. You would find recipes like this scribbled in old cookbooks, passed down from one generation to the next, or clipped from women's magazines that promised fast, filling meals on a shoestring budget. It might seem plain now, but quick macaroni and stewed tomatoes helped plenty of families stretch their groceries and make dinner happen, even on the hardest days. Tomato soup with soda cracker crumble was the poor man's lunch that somehow managed to feel warm, filling, and familiar without draining your pantry. You heated up canned tomato soup on the stove, crushed soda crackers over the top, maybe added a little pepper, and lunch was done in under 10 minutes. It was cozy, simple, and showed up in almost every household because it used staples that were always around. Kids loved smashing the crackers into the bowl. Parents loved how it stretched one can of soup into something that could actually fill a belly. This was the lunch for snow days, sick days, or those afternoons when the fridge was bare and dinner still felt far away. The recipe popped up in every thrift store cookbook, always listed under quick meals or lunches for a crowd. Some families added milk or a pat of butter to make it richer, but most kept it plain and fast. It sounds basic now, but for families scraping by in the 1960s or 1970s, this little soup was a warm reminder that simple food could still get the job done. Molasses milk with soda crackers. Sounds strange now, but for rural families and Depression-era kitchens, it was a fast, practical breakfast when the fridge was nearly bare. You would warm up some milk, stir in molasses for sweetness, and crumble soda crackers right on top. That was it. It was not fancy, but it filled you up, gave you a little energy, and made use of things that lasted forever in the pantry. Molasses was cheaper than sugar and packed with nutrients. Soda crackers were everywhere, and milk, fresh or canned, was always a breakfast staple. Old farm cookbooks, church recipe cards, and rural homemaker guides all had versions of this tucked inside, passed around by folks who knew how to stretch the simplest ingredients. It was humble, filling, and comforting in its own odd way. These days, it is almost unheard of, replaced by granola bars and cereal bowls. But back then, this quiet little breakfast got people through hard mornings with nothing but warm milk and a little ingenuity. Fried canned spaghetti and cheese was the dinner you threw together when there was not much left in the fridge and your stomach was growling. You would open up a can of leftover spaghetti, sauce and all, and toss it straight into a hot skillet. As it fried, the sauce thickened, the noodles crisped up around the edges, and everything smelled just good enough to pass for a proper meal. Then you sprinkled shredded cheese over the top, let it melt, and scraped it onto a plate. That was dinner. It came from old cookbooks full of clever ways to stretch leftovers and make canned food feel less like survival and more like comfort. It was salty, cheesy, crispy in the right places, and ready in under 10 minutes. Most folks ate it standing by the stove or while leaning over the kitchen table because that is how those quick meals always went. It was simple, but it filled you up. Funny how a can of spaghetti and some cheese could turn into something worth remembering. Peanut butter and sweet pickle sandwiches were one of those strange combinations that somehow became a regular part of vintage kitchen routines. You spread creamy peanut butter on soft sandwich bread, added sliced sweet pickles, and pressed it together. That was it. Quick, crunchy, and a little tangy with just enough sweetness to balance it out. It sounds odd now, but back then, it was a favorite for busy lunches, quick after-school snacks, or when there was not much else in the pantry. The peanut butter gave it richness, the pickles added bite, and together they made a sandwich that stuck to your ribs and kept you going. You would find this one scribbled in old recipe boxes passed around at church picnics or quietly tucked into Grandma's cookbook among the other quirky 10-minute meals. Families leaned on this recipe because it came together fast, filled you up, and used ingredients most people always had on hand. It might be forgotten now, but for plenty of households back then, peanut butter and sweet pickle sandwiches were a surprising lifesaver when time and money were both running short. Creamed corn and egg skillet was one of those weirdly satisfying lunches that showed up when the fridge was nearly empty and time was running short. You would grab a can of creamed corn, crack in a few eggs, and fry everything together in one pan. It sounds questionable now, but for families back then, it was warm, savory, and fast. Ready in minutes when kids came home hungry or Dad's lunch break was short. It usually got served with plain white toast or leftover biscuits, soaking up every last bit of that creamy, buttery mess. Some folks added black pepper or a sprinkle of shredded cheese, but most kept it plain because that is what was in the cupboard. It was not glamorous, and nobody was putting this on a restaurant menu, but in old cookbooks it was listed right next to the hearty quick meals section. That is how you knew it worked. Applesauce toast with nutmeg was the frugal breakfast tucked inside every homemaker column and Depression-era guide when groceries ran low but mornings kept coming. You would toast a slice of bread, smear it with applesauce, sprinkle a little nutmeg on top, and breakfast was done in under 10 minutes. It was practical, filling, and sweet enough to feel comforting when everything else felt stretched thin. Families leaned on meals like this when fruit was scarce, budgets were tight, and creativity had to carry the kitchen. Applesauce lasted longer than fresh fruit, nutmeg added warmth, and toast turned it all into a quick meal that actually filled you up. It was not fancy, but it worked, and you could find it everywhere from farm kitchens to city apartments. Some folks added butter, others kept it plain, but either way, it was one of those quiet little breakfasts that made hard mornings feel a little easier. These days, applesauce toast barely gets a mention, but back then it quietly carried families through. Sardine and onion sandwiches were one of those quick, no-frills meals that filled hungry workers up fast and showed up in plenty of lunch pails across America. You opened a tin of sardines, laid them on rye bread, added some raw onion slices, and that was it. Simple, salty, and ready in under 10 minutes. It might sound harsh now, but back when protein was hard to come by and groceries were scarce, this was a go-to meal. The sardines gave you the protein, the onions added bite, and the rye bread kept you full. You would find this sandwich scribbled into old cookbooks, passed around among factory workers, or tucked into lunch boxes for folks heading out the door. It was never fancy, but it worked. Today, most people have forgotten how handy meals like this were, but back then, sardine and onion sandwiches helped plenty of families stretch what little they had and stay full through long, hard days. Leftover rice with creamed spinach was one of those pantry meals that turned odds and ends into something filling, warm, and fast. You scooped leftover rice into a skillet, stirred in canned creamed spinach, and added a splash of milk or cheese if you had any left. Everything cooked together until hot, and that was dinner. It was creamy, salty, and just filling enough to count when there was not much else in the cupboard. These little skillet meals showed up in old cookbooks because they stretched groceries, made dinner happen fast, and kept families full during lean times. You could eat it plain, add black pepper, or even crack an egg on top if you wanted to feel fancy, but most folks just scooped it onto a plate and called it a night. This meal did not take much: leftovers, canned greens, and a little creativity, and somehow it got everyone fed. Funny how these quick, practical dinners stick with you long after times get easier. Egg salad on white bread, open-faced, was the speedy breakfast that showed up in every 1960s lunchroom and kitchen guide when mornings were short but something filling still needed to hit the table. You would mash pre-boiled eggs with mayo, salt, and pepper, spread it on white bread, and serve it open-faced. That was breakfast, ready in under 10 minutes, practical, affordable, and good enough to carry you through the day. Families leaned on meals like this when groceries were limited, but eggs stretched far and filled hungry bellies. It was not fancy, but it was reliable, tucked into community cookbooks and school lunch guides that promised quick, no-fuss meals. Some folks added pickles or herbs, others kept it plain, but either way, it turned leftover eggs into something that worked fast. These days, it is rare to see egg salad show up outside of potlucks or picnics, but back then, it was a small, simple breakfast that actually stuck with you. Peanut butter and marshmallow sandwiches were one of those simple little joys that made their way into school lunches, church picnics, and kitchen tables across America. It did not take much. Just some soft sandwich bread, a good swipe of creamy peanut butter, and a generous helping of marshmallow fluff right out of the jar. The whole thing came together in under 10 minutes, but it stuck with you longer than that. It was sweet, sticky, and packed with that gooey marshmallow center that kids could not get enough of. Adults loved how fast and affordable it was, especially when grocery budgets were tight. You would spot this recipe scribbled on note cards, tucked into church cookbooks, or passed down by word of mouth from one busy home cook to another. It was a sugar rush, sure, but it was also a reminder of the quick comfort food that helped families stretch what they had. Funny how something that fast and that fun could quietly disappear from kitchen tables over time. Which Betty Crocker quick recipe is your favorite? Comment below, like the video, and subscribe for more nostalgic bites.